Welcome to the New Little Life podcast. My name is Allison. I'm a lactation consultant, a breast pump expert, and a mom of 3 little boys. Here on the podcast, we talk with real moms and experts about breastfeeding and pumping. This podcast is designed to help you feel supported by other moms who are doing exactly what you're doing, to get tips and tricks on breastfeeding, and learn how to efficiently navigate pumping while going back to work. All right, I am loving season 2. If you have not joined us yet, which you probably already have because we're well into it now, we're really focusing on working moms. So all of these episodes have been about how moms are making breastfeeding and pumping work at work. And today's no exception. We're going to be talking with Carrie. She's an RN who has exclusively breastfed 2 babies, also while working as an RN. She was doing day shift oncology for her first and night shift on the mom and baby, and soon to be nights on labor and delivery, which is really cool. Yeah. She is still breastfeeding her almost 4-year-old and feeding her 9-month-old, which is also really, really cool. She's actually not the first one that I've had on this season so far that's tandem feeding like that. I think it's more common than we think it is. But she has developed such a passion for breastfeeding and pumping because of a lot of the complications that she had. She's working towards her IBCLC, and I'm so excited to chat with her. Welcome to the podcast, Carrie.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So let's kind of just start at the beginning. You were a nurse before you had kiddos, right?
Yes.
All right. And tell me about how your life changed once you had kiddos and you continued to keep working. Let's just start at the beginning with your first.
Oh, how your life changes when you have kids. Everything.
Yeah.
With working, I was definitely nervous going into it, but had a really supportive team. Just a crazy, crazy floor in oncology. Not that our postpartum floor was not as crazy, but day shift to night shift, totally different ballgame. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you go from just having yourself before kids to kids are your main priority after.
I know. It's such a big jump.
Yeah,
Did you work all the way up until you had your baby on the oncology floor?
Yeah. With my son, I was induced at 37 weeks for low amniotic fluid. Had a stomach bug, got critically low amniotic fluid, got induced. So I was only 37 and 5. Okay. 37 weeks, 5 days when I had him. And then with my daughter, I worked straight through also. So
yeah. So with your son, he was a little bit early, not crazy early. Did he end up in NICU at all, or were you guys able to go home?
Nope, no NICU time.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. He did, our complications with him though were like tongue, lip ties, all that fun stuff. Low birth weight afterwards.
So. Yeah.
But
so how did it start out? Did you know he had ties right away, or did it take you a little while to figure that out?
No. Took a breastfeeding class and they didn't talk much about ties or anything like that, just kind of basic positions, latching. And one IBCLC saw us in the hospital and said he might have a tie, but she wasn't sure. So went home, went to our first pediatrician appointment, and he dropped from 5% weight loss in the hospital to 11% in a day and a half. So went to see another IBCLC and at the hospital I work at, because I didn't deliver at the hospital I work at, delivered at a sister hospital. And she was like, oh, I can't definitely say, but here's a list of pediatric dentists to get evaluated. We went and he had a lip and a tongue tie. And yeah, now knowing what I'm looking for, his were pretty bad. So
yeah. Did you end up having those revised?
I did. Yeah. Yep, we got them revised. It took about, I want to say it was about 2 weeks, just shy of 2 weeks after that, to get them revised. We did laser, and it took another 2 weeks to get him to latch properly, to kind of reteach him, because he always wanted to just go nipple and go shallow. But I triple fed the whole time, and it was horrible. And I always feel horrible telling my moms they have to start triple feeding because I know the pain of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask.
He did great after that.
Yeah. What did you do to keep your supply up while you were trying to figure out that tie? But it sounds like you kind of added pumping on top of the feeding.
Yep. Right after that visit with the pediatrician, I started pumping, and that became a whole nother thing because I am not a standard flange size, like the standard flange size, I should say. Yeah.
What even is the standard flange size?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of everybody in the hospital, I think I've sized 2 people at a 24.
Yep.
Maybe.
I know most of them are quite a bit smaller. And so I think it's common to see like, oh, my nipples are measuring at 16 millimeters. I'm a weirdo. I'm like super small. I have tiny little nipples. But actually, this is like a really normal size. I think we kind of
that's what I thought.
Yeah. I think we kind of get the standard size in our head because pump manufacturers send size 24, 27 with their pumps.
Yep.
And I think it's because you cannot pump with a flange size that is too small. It will be like crazy painful, cause damage like right away. You can, however, pump with one that's too big and think that like things are going kind of okay. I'm not dying. And so I think pump manufacturers send those sizes because it covers like 90% of people that can pump with one that's too big. Does that make sense? What do you think?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, it's just so painful. And I think moms just don't know. And I just wish those major pump companies, because there are some pump companies now that are coming out with inserts on their website and selling the size that person needs, which is great, or giving them an option. But when you're looking at the big pump companies, the ones that we all think of, Spectrum, Medela, Lancino, they come with 24s and 28s or 25s and 27s, like, and the moms are like, well, I'm definitely the smaller size. They put them on and they have an experience like me where you're like, I don't think all that's supposed to be going in there. And you're on a search for something different until you figure it out. Yeah. And 4 years ago, compared to now, there was not the education on social media like it is now. Like the presence is great. So my cat just came up and he's harassing us.
I went back to work 8 years ago and same thing. There was nothing. I had zero help. But even 4 years ago, I think the climate was much different. And so we're just having more awareness now. More people like you sharing your story. Like, I'm a super small size, but actually you're probably a really normal size. We have this kind of distorted view of normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about the triple feeding. What kind of things did that bring up for you in your life? What kind of challenges?
Sleep, no sleep. Thankfully, my husband was very supportive, and I would feed him, hand him off to my husband, and he would do the bottle feed. And I was lucky enough with my son to not be an undersupplier. Like I wasn't an oversupplier with my son. It's definitely just enougher, but I was able to pump a feed and a half. So I could get a little bit on top of what he needed and not have to have my husband waiting for me to pump after the first day or two to feed him. So he would take them, or even if I had to wait for the milk, he would bounce them or rock them or do whatever to calm them down. And then he would give them the bottle and I would try to nap in between, because your triple feeding adventure it's an hour long, maybe. If you're lucky, it might be a little longer. And then you're back up feeding again in an hour and a half. My son was an every 2-hour feeder. Probably because he was kind of, hungry.
Yeah.
But that, and then just finding the right flange size. Like I said, I put those 24s on and I was like, oh, this is not right. And no store around me had 21s. So I had to use 24s for a full day until I saw an IBCLC. She gave me 21s and they were still too large. So that's when I just got on Google and started figuring out if they're smaller sizes. So lucky I did find Maymom, which has been a blessing.
Yeah, they're making a lot of sizes, only odd number sizes for some reason, and trying to get them to make every number of size because that would make more sense. But
I think they would eventually get there. I feel like a lot of companies make just odd numbers.
I do not know why this happened. Why did this become like the standard thing? I have no idea.
Yeah. I know, I think Lactec made some, I don't know. No, they're 18s and 15s. Yeah. So they kind of throw it around there.
Yeah. Do you feel like getting the right flange size made a big difference for you in your pumping experience?
Yes, 100%. I went from it being painful where I didn't want to pump. Like I was like, oh God, I don't want to do this. And I would wince before I even put the pump on. And I didn't want it to be that journey because I always wanted to exclusively breastfeed. And once I found the right size, which took some time, and I'm still, I mean, second journey, it was different. So, and it changed throughout both my journeys so far, multiple times. But finding that right size made it basically not feel like anything. Like it felt like a baby was nursing, a little different, a little more mechanical, but it didn't hurt. It wasn't pinchy. There was no rubbing. Yeah. So it made a huge difference. And I didn't mind sitting there and pumping for 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah. Can you walk us through how you kind of came around to your flange size? You said it took a while, which I'm glad you said that because I think this is really common. People think like, oh, I'm going to measure. I'm going to grab that number, pop it on, and it's good to go. But it actually is more, it's more than that. So can you walk me through your process there?
Sure. So like I said, first time I put the 24s on, because I got the old school Medela pumping style. I knew nothing. That's what was free. And the old school one it's kind of nice. I mean, it's not horrible. But put on the 24s, started pumping, and I just remember yelling in pain. And my entire areola went in. I was like, oh, this is not okay. So took them off, searched for 21s, figured it out. Used the 21s for a little, like, I think it was like, I don't know, 2 pump sessions before I was like, I got to figure something else out. Went on, and I mean, I'm just Google searching, like smaller than 21 flanges, anything I could find. Came across Pumpables website. And this was, I mean, 4 years ago. I don't even, they had like their first pump, just their first Genie Advanced one out. They have a little ruler that you can download and cut out. And I just did that. And I'm measuring and I'm reading articles that say, don't measure before you're pumping or feeding, and then do this. And of course, I'm like 2 weeks postpartum at this point, trying to figure out what size I am. And so my son is cluster feeding. So I'm like pumping, measure an hour after. I don't have an hour in between, trying to figure this out. So I'm guesstimating that I'm a 19 because I'm like, all right, so I'm measuring about 13 to 15. I think I'm about a 19 because this is pre-pumping or post-pumping. I don't even know. And I ordered the 19 May moms, and they were okay. But once I started back to work, I noticed they started, the more frequent I was pumping, because once my son started gaining weight, I cut out the triple feeding. And we weren't doing that anymore. And so I pumped occasionally. Yeah. Once I started back to work and I was pumping more frequent, I noticed they were getting painful. Like my nipples would hurt. It was uncomfortable to have shirts or anything rubbing on them. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to order 15s and 17s. And I just ordered them, paid for it. And I found, just by trial and error, trying both of them, which one was more comfortable. And then I still carry all 3 sizes with me because if I'm pumping, like I went away on a bachelorette weekend in May, and I carried all 3 sizes because if I'm pumping every 3 hours, 4 hours, I like to have the variation in case I have a lot of swelling from just frequent pumping, because my nipples aren't used to it. I work 3 shifts a week. I don't pump on my days off. So it was kind of, I like to have the comfort. I kind of go with what's comfortable now, and I'll switch them out mid pump session if I have to.
Really?
If it's bothering me, yeah. Because my right one doesn't like to cooperate. So if this one tends to bother me, I'll switch it out and find what one's more comfortable that time. And, you know, depending on the time of the month when everything likes to be uncomfortable for you.
That's really interesting. I actually haven't heard of someone like in a practical way talk about carrying multiple sizes just based on what your body's doing in the moment. I think that's really smart though.
Yeah. I just found it works for me. And if I'm not like at work and bringing my giant pump bag, I'll just bring a 24 and all 3 size inserts, and I'll use that instead of carrying all the flanges with me. Because I do prefer having the flange that is sized properly instead of the insert. I I get better output that way.
I also prefer that for
Yeah.
moms. I've heard that a lot, that the actual flange in the right size is usually better than an insert in it.
Yes. I agree.
But practically carrying around the inserts when you have like you're trying to minimize your stuff
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah. It's, the inserts are a lot smaller than 3 full-size flanges.
Right. Oh my word. Well, cool. That's great. So let's go into the back to work part, especially with your first one. You were on day shift at this time, right?
Yes.
With your first?
Yes.
What did your pumping schedule look like when you went back to work? Did you have any hurdles you weren't expecting?
Oh,
All that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. So on oncology, I did a lot of different things. I was charged. I did something we call family support team, which is a more of a counselor kind of. You would go and talk to patients during that time. So it was a lot more laid back that day. I did educator. I had students. So I was a clinical scholar to students. I would have 5 to 8 students on the floor. So depending on the day, it was definitely a variation of what would happen. But a standard day on the floor, if I was charged, you can't predict what patients are going to do. I mean, we could have codes. We have somebody call out and you have to give chemo for 3 hours in a room. You can't predict anything. I didn't expect, I was the first on our floor of 11 girls to follow that had babies within a year.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was hysterical. Like we took a picture, it was a bunch of us that were pregnant, and it was just so funny. It was just there was 5 of us out at one time. I felt so bad for our unit. But I was the first back by like 3 weeks, I think. And almost all of these girls pumped. I think only 2 of them didn't. And so kind of paving the way for the people that weren't as supportive. And I didn't expect some of these people to not be supportive. Like I would be like, hey, I have to pump. Can you watch my patients? And I would kind of get an eye roll and a sigh. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I have to do it anyway. So here's my phone. Bye. I definitely spoke up. I'm not somebody to sit back and let that happen. So I'm happy that I was the first because there are some other girls that are a little more timid that I don't know if they would have kind of stood up for their right in that. But I just talked to our managers and I said, I'm the first back. This is going to have to change. We have a lot of girls that are going to be needing to pump. And yeah, so that was a big thing. But timing, schedule wise, oh, geez, it was a very loose schedule. I think that's the biggest thing about being a nurse is, like I said, you can't predict what your patients are going to do. So you just have to be open to that schedule. Day shift, I always knew we'd be busy. Our busiest time was 11 to 4. So I always got a pump in before. I would feed my son in the morning before I left. And if I didn't feed him, I would pump. I would just pump as soon as I got to work, 10 minutes, whatever I could do before I'd go on the floor. And then I always tried to go around 9:30. That was usually after rounds. You gave your first meds. I usually sneak away if nothing crazy happened. Get in there and get a pump session in. And then I usually tried to pump around noon. Usually didn't happen until 1:30. I would say 1:32. So I saw definitely fluctuations of supply, but no crazy drops at that point. I think it was nice and stabilized. I was lucky with that. And then usually get around 4 or 5, and then I would feed my son when I got home. If he wasn't awake, I would pump, and I'd get home around 8. That was general schedule. It was harder when I was charge nurse because if you have a code, if you have a rapid, you have to be there. If somebody's giving chemo and they need help, you have to be there. We would have to go to the emergency room to access ports or give chemo, or if anybody else on a different unit needed anything with oncology patients, we had to go.
Yeah.
So that definitely, got a little more problemsome, I guess would be the word. And there was one day I went from, I think it was 11:30 until 7, not pumping. And I was almost crying because I was in so much pain. And that was the moment where I was like, all right, I'm buying a mobile pump.
Yep.
And it got me into a spiral of pump collecting, but let's not
Yeah.
talk about that one.
You can join my club of
Yeah.
community breast pumps.
Oh, yeah. My husband teases me all the time.
But you know what? This is the tool we need as working moms to make this goal work, right? So,
I say, I want to be an IBCLC. I need to try multiple pumps. Need to
oh,
give
now it's clinical research what you're doing.
yes.
So I
He's
get
like, can
it.
you write them off on taxes? I'm like,
I
probably.
absolutely do. So you do it too. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so what wearable pump did you try? What time?
My first was the LV,
What'd you think?
the old school OGLV, and I actually ordered it from the UK because it wasn't available in the States yet. I ordered it through a bouquet from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do great with the LV still. The old school one. It's definitely, I've tried too many. Pretty much tried all the very expensive ones. So
and LV still your favorite?
yeah, it is. But I hate how easy it can leak.
Yeah.
So I tend to reach now more for the Willow Go than the LV. Yeah. But I tried the Stride and it did nothing. Like I was like, oh, it's everybody's saying the suction's just like the LV, but I barely would get a half an ounce combined. And I tried inserts. So I gave up on that boy.
What is it about that pump do you think that is so different than, I mean, I've had similar experiences, but I can't put my finger on it.
I don't know if it's just I don't know, because I feel like the cup itself is similar to the shape of the
Sure.
old school one.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I don't respond well to it. And I put it on just standard flanges and I do fine with it, but it's something with the cups that I just don't empty. I don't know if it's sitting, how they're sitting, how they push on the breast. I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, me neither.
I know some people love it and I'm like, well, I'm jealous because I would love to use this thing, but it don't work for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I find myself more and more going to the Willow Go just because of it's similar to the LV. I mean, the suction, it doesn't feel very similar, but it's an easy to use pump and it doesn't leak as often.
Yeah, I think, and it's funny because the LV is like hit or miss. Like I can bend and it won't leak. And other times I'm sitting there and it's just like, I'm like, what is going on?
Oh,
but at work, I stray away. Like if I have to be running around, I stray away from the old school LV just because you splash a little and now it looks like I'm leaking. And at least my moms would understand, I guess, my patients now.
Do you pump on the floor while you're seeing patients and stuff?
Sometimes, yeah. If I can't get away, absolutely. There have been times we've had like rapids or codes. I actually had a code and I had the Willow 2.0 in while the code was going on. I just paused them and I was like, okay, I gotta do compressions. So
please tell me someone took a picture of that because
no, well, you can't take a picture of a patient.
Oh, I'm just like,
it was a little uncomfortable, but you have to do it. I mean, yeah, my one coworker used to call me BB for bionic boobs.
Yeah,
when I had them in.
Yeah,
and the little lights would be there. Yeah.
But it's just kind of, I feel like the more that moms like you are doing this in public, and not even public, like you're working, you have to pump, it just has to be done. I think it just brings more awareness. Like this is part of life and I'm not going to give up my job and my career that I love or that I have to do or whatever, but I'm still going to pump. So
yeah, I mean, now I feel like most of my patients when I was on oncology, they had no idea. Now I'll tell the moms, I'll be like, oh, by the way, pumping, do you want to see? Because then they're intrigued, like, wait, how? And we've had it was a couple months ago, I had a hemorrhage and I just stepped out for 10 minutes because I was in there for like 4.5 hours.
You had a patient hemorrhaging, right?
Yeah.
Not
yes.
You. Yeah.
And we went in and it was just like a slow one that just it wasn't crazy uncontrollable. We were like waiting on the dog, giving all the meds, and I had to step out. I just had our charge nurse come in. I was like, I just need 10 minutes, not even. Let me just go put my pumps in. And I just came in and I was still in there, I think, for another 2 hours after I put the pumps in. So it was a total of like a 5.5 hour kind of stabilizing this patient. So you just have to. I can't go 7 hours without pumping, 8 hours without pumping. And I have to do what I have to do. But
you also have patience. Like, I get this kind of this like balance that we're trying to do. You can't just step away from a hemorrhaging patient. I get that.
No.
But you also can't not pump.
Yeah.
So
it's my patient and they're in my care, but I don't want mastitis. So
yeah. And you also want to feed your baby. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's this whole, like, it's difficult. And there are some fields, I think nursing is one of them, where it becomes extra difficult. So did you just leave in that situation? Did you just leave your pumps in your bra for the whole 2 hours?
Yes.
You just shut off after
I just shut them off
and just left them there.
Yep.
Cool.
I just shut them off and they stayed in, for the rest of the time. And I've had my pumps be in my bra way too long because you start pumping, like I'll be charting at the desk. Everybody's good. I put my pumps in. I have to catch up on charting. Sitting there charting and somebody calls for whatever, and you're in there for an hour, whether it's latching support or education, whatever it is, and you're there for an hour plus, and pumps are just sitting in there hanging out, getting a little uncomfortable, but you kind of becomes part of your daily life. It's you get used to it. I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah. I think the longer you're a mom and the more kids that you have, the more just things don't bother you as much, because you do look like you have pretty big boobs when you are wearing the pumps, but at some point you get to the point where you're like, I don't really care.
I always wore a vest, like, and my manager made fun of me because she's like, what size do you want? I was like, large. She's like, you're not a large. I said, no, but I'm pregnant and I will be using my pups on the floor, so I want a large. So it does tend to hide it a little better. But now I'll be in surgical scrubs, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, those are like 100% cotton and they do not stretch at all.
No, and they're so uncomfortable. But I'd rather that than having to wash out bodily fluids on my own scrubs. Excessive amounts of bodily fluids.
And it's excessive on L&D, I will tell you.
Yeah.
I've been there. It
should be. I mean,
they're everywhere and it's awesome and we love it. But the laundry, I get you.
Yeah.
That's funny. So do you find that wearable pumps work as well or good enough for you compared to like a standard flange with a regular pump?
No, but they work well enough in a situation when I can't get away. I do not use them consistently at work or at home. I'll use them when I'm at work and I can't get away. I need to chart. I need to see patients, whatever it is. If I'm driving, I use them a lot. When I went on the bachelor trip in Vegas, just walking the strip, I had them. And then I would have my little chill bottle, the Cerise Chill that I used, and just had everything in my backpack for that. But a standard flange always empties me way better than any kind of mobile pump that I've tried quite a bit. So, or cups, hands-free pump, I should say.
What's your favorite pump that you've tried in the non-wearable category? So like a tabletop pump or a portable pump, something like that.
It's hard.
You can pick your top two, three, too.
I'm kind of like, I'm reaching for 3 at the moment. So I love the Spectra. I absolutely love the ability to change everything. I didn't like it at first because I always use the Symphony at work. That's what we have. So it's just a standard tug and pull. And so when I first used the Spectra, I was like, oh, this is weird with the vibration. And then I just fell in love with it because that's what I used at home. And I love that one. The Pumpables, Genie Advanced, and actually the new Legendary Milk, the Duet, I'm liking.
Really?
So I have my Slacker that needs a little extra love. So I've been reaching for that one a little more than I think I reach for the smaller ones a little more because I have two children and we're in the middle of a move and I tend to just throw them in my pocket or around my neck and I throw my flange in my bra and I walk around doing what I have to do. Because their grandparents, my parents will get them down for a nap if we're trying to unpack and so I'll just pump and give her a bottle so they can let her sleep because she likes to nap trap mommy. So
yeah. This is a thing. And let's see, you're still breastfeeding both of them currently, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Was that something you had planned on doing or did it just kind of happen?
Oh, so I always wanted my son to breastfeed as long as he wanted, and I was happy with it. Sure. As long as it was a mutual comfort and agreement on us. And when I was pregnant, I was like, oh, my milk supply dried up. They'll probably just stop. No, he just dry nursed. He didn't care. And he told me, your milk's gone. And I was like, yeah, I know, honey. And then I remember it clearly one day I was nursing him before bed and he just looks up at me with this huge smile on his face and tells me, Mommy, where's Milky? Colostrum. So I was about 16 weeks pregnant and he knew. And yeah, he got when my milk came back, like mature milk came back, he was a little fighter. Wanted to be on the breast every time my daughter was on the breast. I was like, whoa, no. So we definitely have boundaries. I will speak that I never had any kind of like rage with breastfeeding until I had come home from the hospital and my son and my daughter were nursing at the same time. For the first, I would say, month, it was like, I was like, oh God, I can't do this. And so we just set boundaries that they can't nurse at the same time. So,
okay.
But yeah, he nurses. Some days he won't nurse at all. And other days that's all he wants to do. So
yeah. Did you notice that evened out your supply or helped your supply with that second one, having two of them on there?
I had a crazy oversupply in the beginning. And then, yeah, it's my supply is regulated now because I got my period back. So it kind of took a dip, but it's still a slight oversupply even with that. But my milk came in so fast second time around, so fast. And I know it was nice though, because if my daughter, if she didn't feed enough or I didn't feel like I was still feeling discomfort, I'd just be like, come here, honey, and just get my son over to me to kind of help that. So instead, where I feel like you would probably reach for a pump or a silicone pump, I just reached for my son.
I've heard that from a lot of tandem feeding moms that the beginnings are easier because you have a better way and a more natural way to like relieve some of the any possible of the normal engorgement that we feel. It doesn't happen as much because you've got that second one to pick up the slack. Or if you do have oversupply, they can kind of take off that first load and then the baby can manage what's left. And
cool. Yes. Yeah. My daughter, she still, just with that crazy letdown, she still like pulls completely back. And I did that sometimes where I was like, Emerson, come here. And just had him latch a few times and then put her on and then had him go on the other breast. So
take off some of that first bit. And
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need the nutrition. Just get the pressure off of mom.
Did you ever worry that the baby wasn't getting enough because you had two of them feeding? Or do you always felt like you were pretty comfortable with how things were?
I was pretty comfortable with her. I always try to just knowing what I know, being a nurse and being in this field, I know what to look for adequate feeds. So I think that helped a lot. I think put myself in a different situation, or if I was still oncology and didn't know enough about it, maybe I would have second guessed that. But she was peeing, had a lot of wet diapers. She was satisfied at the breast. When we went to her first appointment, she had gained weight. So she only went down 4% in the hospital and she was up to, I think she was only like 2% down from birth weight at her first visit. So And I just felt very full a lot of times. And I know I would just ask my son, I'd be like, is there milk in there? He's like, yeah, lots. So I kind of felt comfortable with that. Even now
So
I'll
cool
ask
that
him
he
because
can verbalize that for
I
you.
won't feel like I have
Yeah.
milk. What was that?
It's so cool that he can verbalize that for you. You can ask him, like, is there milk?
Yeah.
Every mom
And
wants that, I think. Yeah.
he'll tell me, he'll flat out, if because I'll put him on the breast. So I would let her nurse and then I would put him on even now, because now I can nurse them both at the same time. It doesn't bother me. But in that beginning, I was like, I just want to throw him against a wall. So I would just like, you need to get off. But I would put him on the breast that she had finished first. And there were times where he's like, Mommy, I want the boob with milk, because he knows. And he's just so silly. Like he'll be like, show me there's milk in there. I'm like, I am not doing that. Like he wants me to hand express.
He's like, prove it before I get on there. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, prove it.
The milk one.
I need to know that's full.
Oh, that is
so goofy.
Funny. Oh my word, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you also have some experience doing night shift stuff, right? Yes. Okay, yeah, so how is that different than your day shift pumping stuff?
Night shift's hard. So with day shifts, my husband's a teacher, so he works Monday through Friday. Nursing schedule is whenever you work.
Crazy, yeah.
And we did 7 to 7s, 7A to 7P or 7P to 7A. And when I worked with my son, I would go to work. I would leave at 6:20. I'd get home at around 7:40 to 8 o'clock. And if he was awake, I would nurse him. If he wasn't, he was going to wake up in a few hours. So we would just feed him, like I'd pump and feed him then. And then I would nurse him through the night. And I could do sleep feeds. I could do side lying and feed him and not quite fully be alert for this. But with night shift, I think the hardest thing for me was pumping during the day, waking up after being up all night and pumping during the day. And so my daughter would go to daycare for that. And if my daughter was home, my husband would bring her in for her to feed instead of using bottles if he was home. So I still would get woke up during the day. And I find it harder to be woke up during the day and fall back asleep than at night, even though I've been on the night schedule, and I was on the night schedule for over 1.5 years before having my daughter. But it was just harder in that. And then working wise, I think seeing, with my son, the volume you get used to, and the only experience of pumping as a working pumping mom I had was day shift. The volume was larger than it was at night shift. So you're seeing that and you're like, okay, but this has to feed her during the day. So am I going to have enough? And even knowing what I know, I was still a little panicked about it and not like putting into my mind about, well, you're also going to be pumping during the day kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think, it was probably 5 to 8 ounces less I pump at night volume than I was during the day because of the times and how, all the hormones work and what you're releasing. So that was a little, I guess, disheartening would be discouraging. You almost felt like, oh God, I'm doing all this work and I'm getting 2 ounces out. This isn't even a feed. So you get a little, I guess, worried. But on top of all that, you're sleep deprived. So your supply is kind of anyways. There would be times I wake up at 1 p.m. and I'm up until 10 a.m. the next day. And so I think that was harder. I definitely was more sleep deprived with my daughter than I was with my son working nights.
Yeah. So you're
the hardest ones.
If she's going to daycare during the day, you're pumping through your night shift and then also pumping while you're sleeping during the day because she's not even there. So that's like a lot of pumping.
Yep. Yeah. So I would go in, I'd feed her right before I went in. And then of course that's when she decided, once she kind of got her nap stabilized, that's course, was her nap time, her last nap time,
Sure.
right before I left. So I would try to like nurse her right before her nap, which is usually about 5:30. And this was early on. Now she doesn't do that nap, which is nice. And then I would pump. I would go see my patients and usually pump around like 9, and then just kind of go from there, 9, 12, 1-ish, and then go again at 3. And then I would either try to sneak in a pump session right before the end of work, or I would pump as soon as I got home. So like I would shower and then pump. And then I would have to set an alarm, but I'd have to set like 4 alarms because I did not want to wake up. And then pump, try to fall back asleep, and wake up again around, usually it was around 3 p.m. and pump, and then I was just up. So, I had maybe 2.5 to 3 hour naps, 2 of them before going back to work, doing it all over.
They're basically just napping. Like you're not even getting napping. like night sleep. Oh
yeah.
My gosh. So if you look at your output from your day shift pumping versus your night shift pumping, I know you're pumping less on your night shift, but if you're talking like in a 24-hour period, do you feel like it's comparable?
So I have a better supply this time around than I did with my son. I was always just a slight, like I probably pumped maybe an ounce, maybe 2 ounces extra a day. My son was he never drank more than 30 ounces a day though. Like that was just him. Mm-hmm. And my daughter is a chugger. Like she will drink 40 ounces a day if I let her, and she will eat 5 full meals a day if I let her. She eats more than my toddler. She's 10 months now, to put it into perspective.
Yeah.
But she's crazy. And so we tried to limit my daughter with I don't want to say limit because she just wanted to chug the bottles.
Yeah.
So I would never do more than the 4-ounce bottles. I tried to stick with 3s, all the pace feeding, all that, and try to kind of stretch it out with her. But with my son, I could pump in a 12-hour period. I mean, I would pump 20 to 26 ounces during the day. Mm-hmm. And then I wouldn't pump at home, which was, the 1.5 to 2. 26 was that was on the high end. But there were times I pumped, if I went like 5 hours, I'd pump 11 ounces with my son. And then it would just go down. Like the first pump would be really high and it would go down. I don't think I ever pumped during night shift with my daughter more than 9 ounces. And then it was like 9 ounces. And then it was like 3 ounces, 2 ounces. Total amount I ever got with my daughter, to put it in perspective, I don't think I ever pumped more than 20 ounces in a 12-hour night shift period. But then when I went home and pumped during the day, I pumped pretty much the same in 2 pump sessions that I did in 4 at night. So it was just kind of crazy to see that. But for the full 24-hour period, I had more with my daughter, but in the just of looking at what it would have been with my son, yes, it was comparable.
Probably pretty the same.
Yeah.
Not accounting for this little bit of oversupply you have with your daughter.
Yeah.
2 little kiddos on there.
Which again, I have 2 children on my breast in the beginning. So
I think that's a really important part to highlight, that pumping at night is different than pumping during the day. Your hormones are just doing different things. And regardless of when your sleep is, our like circadian, our rhythms are supposed to be dark.
Yeah, night. I'm supposed to sleep at night. I'm not supposed to be awake. Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked at the research on what your hormones do when you work night shifts, when you're up at night and sleep during the day. But I know it affects breastfeeding. And so just keeping that like big picture in mind of pumping at night looks different than the day. I think it's cool that you've had both experiences and can kind of speak to both sides of that.
I think, I mean, you would notice it. I feel like even normal moms would notice it if they were pumping during the day with the lack of sleep. Like there were a few times, I'm always, I like to go 3 in a row, get them done with, have my 4 days off. How I've always been as a nurse. But when I had my daughter, I was like, I can't do this. Like I can't pump for 3 days straight and barely see her. So I broke it up. And it totally lost my train of thought where I was going. This is mom brain.
That's because you're sleep deprived.
100%.
And this is what we're talking about.
Well, actually, I've been getting some sleep. I didn't start work yet. I start next week. So,
oh man, you've had a little recovery time, and
whew.
now we're back to.
But we're in a move, so that's a whole nother thing, which is why the screen is blurred out, because it's a hot mess.
Yep, you're military, so I understand the moving.
It's a mess.
Process.
Yeah,
it is.
Oh,
yeah.
I recommend to no one. Don't do it.
Zero.
Don't even know where I was going. I had a thought process on that. It's gone.
I think you're gonna like labor and delivery though. That's a fun floor, and especially as a mom and a pumping mom, like I love that you're just out there being like, yeah, I'm pumping. And just, I think especially for first time moms, can you imagine like having a baby and you have this brand new baby and you're like, okay. And then to see a nurse, someone that you respect, like they're educated, they're there to help, just being like, oh yeah, I'm here to help you. I'm also pumping. Like this is normal. And I don't want to say easy, but just like part of life. I feel like that would be so encouraging and empowering for a first time mom to see someone in a position that they respect, like making it work. I don't know. It's cool.
I'm excited. I know, like, I'm very pro breastfeeding, obviously. Came from a baby-friendly hospital and coming into an area that is not as prominent. Like, I lived right outside of Denver, Colorado. I want to say we had initiation rate of breastfeeding. I would go months without getting a formula-fed baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is great. Coming into a place where it's going to be a little bit opposite. So I'm definitely excited to be bringing in that support. And I have no shame telling, I know some people get shy, I guess, or kind of like feel like people are going to be really judgmental about feeding a 4-year-old because they don't see it's appropriate. But I have no shame about sharing that as part of my journey, and that it is possible, especially with all the hardships we went through in the beginning with him. So
yeah, you worked hard to get him at the breast. You know what I mean? And then he was probably 2? He was probably not quite 2 when COVID hit, and
a 1.5 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if any reason to prolong breastfeeding, it would be a worldwide pandemic. I mean, I remember thinking, I am not giving up breastfeeding no matter what, because this is the only thing between me and my baby and this disease we don't know anything about yet, Yeah.
And we got it. As a nurse, I'm
sure you did.
Had it. And I got it in April of 2020, and my son, end of April 2020, and my son started, it was actually my birthday, I remember it, in May, and he was pulling on his ear. We're like, oh man, we got to bring him to the doctor. So we told them, they're like, are you exposed to COVID? I'm like, I currently have it. So my husband has to bring him. And they go outside. They do he's out in a car. They don't even bring him into
it was a weird
the
time.
Doctor's office.
It was.
And they do, they check his temp. They do his ears, check his ears. They're like, well, he doesn't have an ear infection. We're not going to do a COVID test on him, but he probably has COVID. All he ever did, he had a cough for 2 days and he pulled his ears for like a day. And that was it. And then my husband and I got it again, second round of COVID, about May of this year. So the end of May this year, because it was my husband's last day of work in the school before we moved, and he didn't get to work. I was like, oh, you don't even get to say bye to the kids. And neither of my kids had it. And we tested my son just with the home test, and he didn't have it. No symptoms. My daughter had no symptoms. And I was just like, feed.
Right.
So it was great to have that. And I could even see the colors with the antibodies. It was like green. My breast milk was green when I had COVID. So
that is so cool. Yeah. I think we're headed into a phase of the world where it becomes more normal to breastfeed a little bit longer. And I think there's just more understanding, knowing that no one alive had experienced a worldwide pandemic like that to that scale, and I think there's a lot more just understanding that people are going to cope with it differently. If you're still wearing a mask at this point, like go for it. If that's making you feel good and it's helping you not spread things, like great. Where I think if I had seen Americans walking around with masks before, I would be like, do you have like leprosy or something? Like, what
What
are you doing with a mask in public? Like, it's weird,
Yeah.
And I hope that extended breastfeeding is one of these things that we see as a positive effect of COVID. Like, moms are choosing to not purposefully wean their babies if things are working for them because it's better,
Yeah. I'm happy too that the AAP has changed their recommendations and has put 2 years, and at least it's more matching the guidelines of like the World Health Organization, where it's 2 years and beyond, because it should be, and you shouldn't be made to feel guilty if you're feeding your child past 2. Like, yeah, my son's 4. Yeah, he can eat solids, but why wouldn't I give him comfort or the benefits of breastfeeding? I don't. If it's a mutually benefit, like, it's not, and it's not your child, so no. That's kind of how I feel. I've never had anybody in Colorado ever say anything negatively to me, but I'm a very open breastfeeder. I have no shame. I got to feed my child. I'm not going to hide. That's my personality, and I'm happy I'm that way. But I can see it being interesting where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And my husband always says he's worried for the person that comes up to me and says something.
After our conversation today, I am too. Like, I hope they do, because they will get a little lesson in breastfeeding and what's appropriate to say to a breastfeeding mother. And hopefully they won't do that again.
Yeah, like, who are you? Don't come up to me.
No.
I had so it's interesting, because I've had friends out here that have had that happen to them, and I'm like, oh, no.
No, we're not gonna stand for this.
Yeah.
Well, as we kind of close up our episode together here, do you have any advice specifically for working moms combining breastfeeding and pumping? That's really who we're talking to here. Either like some practical tips or just, advice to make it work. Anything you'd like to share with these working moms who are doing the work? I suppose.
Yeah, just know your rights. Every state is a little different, but the U.S. protects I think it's up to a year, if I'm correct, for pumping. Mm-hmm. Then every state after that changes. So know if you have rights. Talk to your managers while you're pregnant about it and what you want your goals to be, and come up with a plan. And don't let them tell you otherwise. I mean, you are legally allowed to do this. And if it's something you truly want to do, you can. It does take work, it does take effort, but you can do it. And try not to be too strict with your schedule. Give yourself some leeway. It's okay to go an extra hour if you have to. Don't make a habit out of it, but it's okay. It's not going to kill your supply doing it once or twice. And yeah, just don't take anybody's BS.
There you go.
Just stand up for yourself. Yeah.
Just don't take it. I love it. I think we can. It's pretty easy to get into this like all or nothing mindset. Like, I'm late to my pump session. I failed today. And if you listen to any part of Carrie's story, I hope it was the part where she was like, I'm a nurse and I have patients and they're literally dying and I'm still having to pump. And we just fit it in how we can. And, the next day you need to kind of get back to what you were doing, but you are not a failure that day. You're juggling a lot. All of you working moms, and I see you and you're doing great. So thank you so much, Carrie, for sharing your wisdom today.
You.
And it was so interesting talking to you. You have so many different perspectives, and you're going to make a great IBCLC. I'm so excited to see you like keep going on that path and sit for your exam and just make a difference. Help all these moms not take any BS for their
it's a mentality I'm going to give them, especially this area.
Yeah, you get them. Yeah, I'm excited for you. All right, you can find all the things that we mentioned and stuff down in the show notes of today's episode. There'll be some links for some of the products that Carrie mentioned, also a couple articles. I'm going to put one on DMER, which is dysphoric milk ejection reflex. You mentioned a little bit about those like angry feelings when you were nursing in the beginning, and a lot of those are hormonal. So I'm going to put an article down there just for anyone who wants more information on that. as well as some tandem nursing resources, because I thought that was really cool. So thanks again, Carrie, for chatting with us today, and good luck.
Thank you.